Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm John Armwood here with She Got Game. I'm sitting right, excuse me, I'm here interviewing with the lovely Riley White from Alabama University. Her story is very unique, and I can't wait to dive in and you guys get to learn about her a little bit. But before we dive into your actual experiences at Bama and stuff like that, just for the audience back at home a little bit, you know, um, I know you're from Alabama, but just to give them a background, where are you from in Alabama originally?
So I'm from Hoover, Alabama. I don't know if y'all have heard of the show Two A Days. So my high school, the football team actually had their own little TV show. So usually when I say I'm from Hoover, people are like, "Oh my gosh, the TV show," and I'm like, "Yeah." So we were kind of known for our sports at Hoover High School, but I'm Alabama born and raised. Very fortunate. I'm only 45 minutes away from Alabama, so I'm still at home basically when I'm at school. But yeah, that's where I'm from.
It's got to be nice. Always get a free meal at home and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
Out of the kitchen, it's got to be cool. Around what age did you begin getting involved in sports and stuff like that?
So when I was 3, actually, I started the little mommy and me classes at gymnastics. So it was me and my mom, and it's just like little obstacle courses you go through. She does them with you. That's, I guess, when it all started.
I was. It's a great segue. Assuming the little and me, did your mom or you guys doing those classes stuff had anything to do with you getting involved in gymnastics at a young age and stuff like that?
So no one in my family, like my mom cheered in high school. She played basketball. My dad played football in high school, but no one in our family really did gymnastics. I have an older sister and a younger brother, and my older sister did gymnastics for a little bit, but it wasn't really something she was super serious with. But I was super flexible when I was really little and like was always trying to like hang on things and just like lift my legs and like do all sorts of stuff. So they were like, okay, let's put her in gymnastics. And then when I started in the mommy me classes, everything was just kind of easy at a very young age. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of like, this is something that we could kind of maybe see where it goes. Of course, I did dance and cheer for a year and softball, t-ball. I think I played up one game with machine pitch. Other than that, gymnastics, once I got into it, you don't really have time for anything else.
Yep.
And we just kind of hit the ground running with it.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not too fond. I know a bunch of gymnasts and stuff like that that competed at a high level. However, I don't necessarily know what goes the in and outs of it and stuff like that. So me asking you, Natch, because a lot of the stuff I assume you have to develop over time, right? What part of the gymnastics or being a gymnast came naturally to you?
Well, to be quite honest, a lot of things came very natural to me. That's kind of what helped me be a pretty good gymnast early on. So I actually did this program called TOPS. It's the Talent Opportunity Program. And I started that when I was probably 7 years old. And so basically, you go around the US testing. So there's like these things called physical abilities. So it's press to handstands,
Mm,
handstand hold, rope climb, sprint, splits, vertical jump, pull ups, all of that kind of stuff. So you start doing that, and there's certain marks you have to hit. And so I would travel around to different gyms and be tested. When you are at the time when I was 8, you couldn't make like a national team and travel to Texas, but you would make like I guess a national team. It was just like a title.
mm,
And so when I was 8, I made diamond level, which was the very highest level you could test and make. And then when I was 9, I qualified for national testing and went to Texas to the National Training Center with Bella and Marta Caroli. And I flew out there, tested, and then you also had some routines to go along with that. And you can either make A team, B team, or don't make a team. And I made B team, and so then it was just me and my coach flew out to Texas for a week for the national training B camp. And that was pretty wild. And like looking back now, I'm like, dang, at 9 years old, I went out to Texas, just me and coach. I stayed in the cabin all week with girls that I did not know from all over.
mm,
But it was a really cool experience. Looking back on it, I'm like, wow. And so
mm,
after tops, I continued training. I didn't really go elite route after that. I had some injuries kind of come up. And so, that really hurts you when you're trying to be elite. Like in the state of Alabama, there were actually no elite gymnasts, and my goal was to be the first.
Okay.
And then it's just kind of, we just were like, let's train for college. We're going college route. And so when I was in the sixth grade, I competed level 9, seventh grade level 9, eighth grade level 10. So I started competing level 10 in the eighth grade. And yeah, I think honestly, it's kind of funny to ask what comes natural. So one thing is when something was difficult for me, my coaches were like, wow, we finally found something. It's taking you a little bit of time to try to get. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't like this. And I was very determined. You couldn't keep me out of the gym. I'd come home and I had a beam here, I had a bar here, mats, and I would just
Yeah.
flip around. You couldn't keep me from doing stuff. I would come home, ask my parents, like, hey, can I have a private lesson just so I can go have more time in the gym? And I was actually going before school in elementary school. So I remember, I think it was the third grade. I'd practice 6 a.m. to like 7:20, and then I'd go to school, and then I'd go practice again. So I was doing 2 days while I was in elementary school, and then I got it approved for gymnastics to count as PE for me, and so I could leave at 2 o'clock to get spend more hours in the gym. So I just loved it. You couldn't keep me out. And I was super motivated. I'm one of these people, when you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, "Oh, really?
You gotta do
Well, just watch." So my coaches knew that about me, knew how to motivate me. So I loved it. It was literally my everything. Like, you have no social life. Your life is gymnastics.
it.
Your friends are your teammates. Your coaches are your second parents. Like,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother life. I know people like know about gymnastics, but like unless you're in it, like it's just a whole
That's
whole ordeal.
I was gonna say. That's why in the beginning I preference, like, I know people who are involved, but from what I hear, it is an absolute cult. And once you're in it, you're in it, and it's no one
Yeah.
foot in, one foot out. It's a very hard nosed business. So, you mentioned a lot. You mentioned how you were competing at a young age with higher levels and making the B teams and stuff. It only goes in to show how much you had uber success at a middle school level and even going kind of into high school. Now,
Mm.
my question to you is, I believe your senior year or your junior or senior year is the year you decided to make the transition into track, correct?
Yes.
Um, you know, if you don't mind, if you don't mind going into, what inspired or what kind of led you from having such great success and you've been killing it for years. You were like 8, you're going to junior, senior year of high school, and then you made a rapid transition, which isn't easy to do, by the way. If you can go into what kind of went into that.
So I guess it was like my junior year. So actually, I had tried to quit gymnastics the end of my sophomore year, going into that summer. And it was one of those things my parents were like, are you sure? Like, we've put a lot into this for years, like all of us, like my whole family, we've sacrificed so much, a lot of money goes into it.
I
I
bet.
mean, injuries, there was just a lot. And it's like, to walk away from this, like, are you sure? So then I was like, you're right. Like, it's kind of my identity. I don't really know what I would do without it. So I stuck through it. And then season was about to start my junior year. And I was just like, I just can't see myself doing this and then doing it another 4 years. Like, my body can't take it. I mean, I've had 3 steroid injections in this shoulder, 2 in this shoulder, 2 in my
Really?
knee. I had a herniated disc in the sixth grade in my back. I've broken my right foot
Oh man.
3 times. There was just, so it got to the point where it was like I wasn't even getting a full season in of competing. And I
Yeah.
was like, I can't see myself doing this another 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, my dad actually, he was the one, I feel like that was a little hard on me with the quitting of it. I like to say I retired. So I went retiring from gymnastics.
Okay.
And he was like, well, you're going to get a job. Like, you're not going to sit around and do nothing. Cause he kind of wondered if it was because I wanted to have a social life and enjoy my last
Mhm.
half of the year, junior year and senior year. But like, I was like, no, dad, I don't have a social life. Like, I'm not trying to quit to do anything because I don't have that, like, outside of gymnastics. So I
Mhm.
ended up getting a job coaching gymnastics at the
Okay.
gym. I just, and then I was like, well, oh my goodness, I've done sports my whole life. I can't do nothing. Like, I'm going to gain weight. Like, I got to do something. So I had heard of people, a few gymnasts starting to pole vault, but I literally knew nothing about pole vaulting. So I was like, well, we'll run track to stay in shape. Like, maybe I'll hurdle. I'm pretty fast. Maybe I'll be a sprinter. I don't know. We'll see. So I met with the track coach and they were like, you were a gymnast. You have to pole vault. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, we'll try it. Of course,
Yeah.
so I didn't really have a choice, to be honest. They just kind of threw me in it because I was a gymnast. And so my first little bit of track, I was working and training.
Okay.
And so the pole vault coach was like, I don't really know if we're going to be able to make this work. Like, you're working so much. He's like, come out for practice one day. We'll see what you've got. And then we'll kind of reevaluate from there.
Mhm.
So my first time ever going out to practice, he's like, all right, let's learn how to run with the pole. I'm like, all right, I got that down. He's all right, let's run on the runway with it. See if you're comfortable like running into this like mat and planting the pole. By the end of that practice, it was maybe like an hour-long practice. They put a bungee up at like 8 feet and I cleared it. And he was like, you know what? We are going to make it work. Anytime you can come and practice, I will be here. We are going to make this work. And I was like, okay, yes, sir. So I just started vaulting. My first meet ever, I jumped 8'6". And then by the end of junior year, I jumped 10 feet. So in a short amount of time,
Yeah.
things just
Yeah. Yeah.
took off. But it was because of my gymnastics background, the air awareness, and
Yeah.
just my upper body strength, my core strength. I mean, it really, really helped. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into pole vaulting. It's kind of crazy. I never thought, I didn't even know what it was. And there's still so much I don't even know about pole vaulting. Like it's crazy.
I was gonna listen. Look, so my sister, my younger sister, did track, and I know a lot more people in that field who run track. Da da da. You are officially my first pole vaulter I've ever like entered. Yeah, I've done sprinters, I've done shot putters, I've done discus throw. Like I've done it all, the long jumpers, and it's a pretty interesting. Because I was wondering, from gymnastics, why don't you jump into a long jump or maybe a triple jump? No, right to the pole vault, and that's
Right to pole.
that's pretty
Yeah,
that's pretty
I
interesting.
couldn't think. I was stuck. I was like, all right, got it.
That's actually very interesting. You know, the question I guess the question about because you didn't just do pole, you ran as well, right? You sprinted.
No.
Oh, strictly pole?
So only pole vault because they were like, we need you to score 10 points for us at state meet. And if you get hurt doing something else, we can't, we need you to vault. So, cause I even like after my junior year and I trained all summer, going into senior year, cause I was like, okay, well, we've already jumped 10 feet.
Mm,
This might be possible to go to college for this.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm going to take it really serious. And like, I hired a, personal trainer and I was on a meal plan and a workout plan and I trained all summer long. And then going into the indoor season, I was like, hey coach, do you want to enter me in some JV meets to just like run or hurdle or something? Like I want to do something. And they were like, no, absolutely not. Like if you hurt and you can't vault, then like, there's
Mhm.
just like things, we just stuck with pole vault.
It makes sense. Because I definitely looked into you, and I wanted to add, after transitioning and making such a freaking splash in such a quick amount of time, right? Essentially, I believe it was you. I believe for thirds in states, you can't. I believe you came in third in states, right? Initially indoor,
Indoor.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then officially an outdoor where we know that's where the big leagues are. And I mean indoors nice, indoors cute, but
Yeah.
the outdoors where the big leagues are. And you ended up actually winning. You actually ended up coming first in the state. Uh,
Yeah.
I kind of, I want to ask you, what did that mean to your legacy, right? To your legacy, kind of, your first couple times falling a bit short to probably someone with more experience, and then outdoor, making sure you win it, right? What did that mean to you and your legacy, just in general as an athlete?
I mean, it was huge. It was one of those things. So when I first started vaulting, some of the girls that were on the team kind of explained how going to state even worked
Okay.
and kind of told me like, oh, you probably will get to go next year, just because it's so competitive. And I'm like, oh, I ended up getting to go my junior year. I didn't do what I wanted to, but I still was like, oh no, I'm gonna go. Like, I got this. So I I like when people kind of doubt a little bit. And so indoor season, when I got third, the the pole vault coach, head coach for the girl who ended up winning, came up to me and said something like, I don't even know his exact words, just basically being like, it's okay, maybe you'll get them outdoor season. And I'm like, whew, maybe I'll get them outdoor season. Just kind of like being like, oh, good try, blah, blah, blah. So that just did not sit well with me. And I also had in the back of my mind, like, not only do I like want to go and win, like I want to go vault at the University of Alabama. Alabama has been my dream school. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Alabama. I wanted to go for gymnastics. And I'd been in contact with the pole vault coach, so I kind of knew what I needed to do. And I was like, I had sticky notes all over my mirror. I had my home screen on my phone was me vaulting and it said Alabama. Like I just had everything like this is what I'm gonna do and I'm setting my mind to it. I mean, my personal trainer, like I was on a meal plan. I had
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
I had gained muscle. I mean, all this stuff I was eating was like, oh my goodness, like crazy. But it was all worth it because I knew what I wanted and when I was setting my goals on. And for me personally, my faith grew tremendously my senior year. And I kind of had to say to myself, like, whatever happens, happens because there is a greater plan for me. And I'm going to give whatever it is that's on my heart right now, my all, because I feel like that's what the Lord's putting on my heart. And I'm going to go all in. And so when I finally reached it, it was kind of one of those things like, I guess I proved to myself that like when you do want something hard enough and you work hard and you actually put everything into it, things do work out. And like there's always going to be things along the way. Like at every person, like for me, injuries. I was so injury prone in gymnastics, and it just kind of was like everything happens for a reason. Like here I am, gymnastics after 13 years of gymnastics. I just won state meet for track and field. Like who would have thought that? And at state meet that next day, the head coach at Alabama, he had been there at the meet and he was like, hey, we have a roster spot for you. So then, I mean, it's just like everything literally fell into place. And for me personally, my high school experience, my senior year wasn't the greatest just because all of my friends were my teammates. So when you try to hop into like, my school had 700 kids. It's just kind of like, it was very difficult. I didn't get to go to a single high school football game until my senior year. So it's just like so many things were so whatever, but I had track.
In
And so
Bama?
no, in Hoover.
Yeah,
Hoover High School.
I'm saying being from Bama, not going to that's crazy, man. That's unheard of. That's that's unheard of.
So, it just was one of those things like when I finally won state, it's like, all
Mm.
right, like everything I've sacrificed, other things in my life that haven't been the greatest, that's okay because this is what I've been pouring everything into and all my hard work has paid off. And that's kind of, I guess, like the legacy is a lot of people who, if you ask them about me, they always talk about like me being very dedicated and passionate and hardworking. And I like to think I'm a very passionate and hardworking person, like no matter what it is. And in high school, I made really good grades and also competed really well in one state. So I just, that's kind of, I can't do something like halfway. Like I'm gonna go all in. And so when I won state, it's like, all right, we did it.
I was my next question because here at She Got Game, we like to do these segments where we call it the She Got Game moment, and we ask whoever the feature is, each individual, about their She Got Game moment. But it sounds like wholeheartedly, this might have been it for you, as far as everything coming together and like you just said, faith and all that adversity and that's a lot of stuff you're battling there. Post injury, people sleep on post injury trauma, man. The stuff could depress you. It's a lot. It does a lot to you mentally. I mean, but unless that's not the right She Got Game moment, if you have
Yeah,
another one, by all means.
I would say for sure that, or I will have to say my junior year in college.
Okay.
So I so COVID happened sophomore year. I was having a pretty rough sophomore year. I had put on weight. I couldn't get it off. I was meal prepping, planning, to seeing the nutritionist, just lots was going on. COVID hit, and COVID was the biggest blessing for me. I went dairy free randomly. I was just like, okay, I have eczema. And I'd read somewhere where like being dairy free helps eczema. And I was like, all right, shoot, let's try it. I lost weight. And I was like, okay, even if it didn't help my eczema, I just lost weight going dairy free. So my coach gave us workout plans. I was working out, doing every single thing he gave us. And then come back that fall, I was in the best shape I have ever been in. I worked so hard all fall. Spring rolls around. Indoor season, I made my first SEC roster, and I got to go to SEC season, indoor season.
Right.
And then I PR'd indoor season, going outdoor season, I PR'd, and then I got to go. Well, then my season ended, but then my pole vault coach got COVID. So they were like, Riley, we're going to send you to SECs to help coach the boys. You're also going to be injured as an athlete, though. And I was kind of like, I had already taken like 2 weeks off because I thought my season was over. Like, this is crazy. And I hadn't pole vaulted in 2 weeks. Like, oh my goodness. And my coach isn't even going to be there. So I vaulted with our throws coach because he knows a lot about pole vault. So we vaulted with our throws coach for a little bit, went to SECs. I ended up jumping opening bar and PRing and jumping 12, like 9.5. And I honestly think, because you kind of hit this moment in college, and like I try to explain this to our freshmen this year,
Mm-hmm.
you think you work hard until you've turned that next gear. And you look back and it's like, I thought I was working as hard as I could, but now that I have been working my very hardest, I wasn't. And this was like the first time, like that COVID summer and then all of junior year, where it was like, this is what hard work looks like. And I had just worked my tail off, and everything that meet, because my coach wasn't there. I jumped that new PR, that opening bar at SECs without my coach.
Crazy.
And it was like, oh, I knew all my hard work wasn't like for nothing. And so I feel like that was a huge, huge moment for me. And it really carried my momentum into this season, because I feel like training wise, like I've gotten so much faster this year, so much stronger, and lost weight. Like it's literally just crazy how it all comes together. But that year, I hit that next year, I guess, into sophomore year. And it's just one of those things, like you can tell freshmen, like, hey, you think you're working hard, but like you can go a little bit harder, and you have to learn it. You have to you go through it, you live and you learn, and you realize that, wow, you just kind of mature as an athlete, I guess, is more so what happens. But yeah, I would say that's another definitely she got game moment for me.
Nice, man. This is all interesting information, man. It's just crazy, the journeys, like how you get from point A to point B, and people, if only people see, they only see the final product. They never
Right.
understand what's happening here, and it's a lonely road, man. It's a lonely road. So, kudos to you, man. That's crazy. PR without your coach has got to be nuts. That's got to be insane.
Wild. It was wild.
I bet. It seems as though sports definitely from the beginning of the interview to even now, gymnastic, whether it been track, sports has a heavily toll on your life in some form or fashion, right? If you don't mind, if you could go into how do you think track has impacted your life?
Well, for starters, like I tell everyone this, confidence. I can't even begin to explain, especially as a female, what sports does to you and your confidence. Like it's one of those things, like I know I'm bettering myself every day. I'm pouring a lot of me into something that's, not that like your sport is who you are and you can't put your worth in your sport by any means. That's something you can't do, but at the same time, like you're always working towards something. You have little victories along the way that always gives you that little, like, oh, it's the little things. Like there's so many things within sports and like track. I mean, there's one day where I might hit a new PR in the weight room, and that like made my whole day. And if you don't have that, or you're working towards that, like I always tell people, the life of a student athlete, yes, is so different than like someone else. It's not necessarily better, worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
Like my experience, I'm not partying all the time. Like when I go home and I talk to my friends and they're like, oh yeah, so and so, like drugs, alcohol, this, that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sheltered. Like the whole little athletic community really does shelter you a little bit. Cause I'm like, that's definitely not what I'm seeing on a daily basis.
Uh,
Surrounded the culture, you're surrounded by all these people that are also working hard, working on themselves. And it's a very uplifting environment. So then you have all these positive people lifting you up. Like, especially as a female in athletics, when you've got muscle, sometimes people have something to say about that. But when you're surrounded by people who are like, oh, that's badass. And it's like, yeah, it is. Thanks. Like, you're, I just feel like my confidence and like my worth is would not be what it is if it wasn't for sports and like having sports my entire life. I just feel like I'm very sure of myself and who I am. And I think sports, it's definitely there's so many ups and downs that come with sports too. And there's so many things that happen in sport that you can learn from and apply future years. Like my current coach who does all of our workouts, he was actually a long jumper at Alabama, went professional, and now he coaches the jumps group besides pole vault. Like he just does our training.
mm,
He is always trying to teach us all the lessons that we're going to use later on in life. Like everything is going to apply one way or another with relationships, our future jobs. Um, it just kind of sets you up for stuff that, other things just don't. And like your teammates, they're your closest friends. You're all going through the same thing together. It's very different than just like someone I meet in class. Like my relationship with my classmates and my teammates are just so different. I don't know. And I graduated with a 4.0. I got my red cap. And I
Congrats.
mean, my work ethic is what it is too because of sport. Like
Mm,
it just really, I just truly, I am like when it's like National Women's and Girls and Sports Day, I'm like, praise, yes, because I tell you what, it has just been the biggest blessing in my life. And I don't know what I would do without sport. It has truly made me who I am. And I like when the day comes that I'm not an athlete anymore, I'm like, what am I going to do in a day? Like, even though I'm supposed to be taking a little bit of time off, let my body heal, I'm still going to the gym every day. I'm like, I can't just sit around. Are you kidding me?
no doubt, no doubt.
I
Nah, I
love
mean, look, once an athlete, always an athlete, bro. Always. No, man. Like you kind of mentioned it, man. Being an athlete, it has it's waves. Like it has its highs, but boy, does it have its lows too,
Oh, yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just the reality. Like, it's not always gonna be happy. It's not always gonna be sad. So it's just like this. And I'm curious. Do you have a saying, or do you have any type of motto or something like that that help you actually persevere through tough times and stuff like that?
So one thing about me as an athlete that I this sounds kind of whatever that I love about myself, honestly, and like my mom has been very helpful with this too as I've gone through sports, is when like bad things happen and you're in your lows, like I have to, like I truly know they don't last forever. They just don't. You're never going to be stuck in this down forever. Like you're just not. And sitting in that and being like, ugh, poor me, this sucks, and staying in that does nothing. So I'm very much that night, if it was a horrible day, I go home and I cry. Oh, I let it out and I acknowledge like this sucks. I'm so upset. And I tell people like, no, like I'm just not at a good place right now. I'm sad. I'm this, that, and the other. But I know when I wake up in that next morning, it's a new day. It's time to get a game plan. I write down like, okay, these are the goals for today. These are the blessings of my life. These are the things I'm grateful for. And I take a step back and I'm like, okay, I'm alive. Okay, I have an amazing family. I'm literally at my dream school doing my sport. I have amazing teammates. Like you just have to take a step back and really be like, is it that bad? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And just turn the page. I'm just such a big advocate for turning the page. Like, be sad. If something's wrong, like, feel it out because like those feelings are valid and they're there. But then you gotta look ahead and like, okay, this is moving forward. This is the game plan. These are my goals. And speak up to your coaches. I'm the first to text my coach or at practice, be like, hey, what are your goals for me these next few weeks? What is practice going to look like today? Like, speak up for yourself and talk through things, but just kind of staying down and staying sad. I have a hard time when I just don't do that. You just can't. You can't. And that's kind of like my mindset when things are hard, is being like, ugh, like, this is sad. This sucks right now. Like, but what am I going to do about it? You know? And what can I control? Because if it's something you can't control, then you've got to just look at the things you can control, because you can't, things you can't control, you can't control. So I'm just very big on feeling it, being sad, acknowledging it, and then turn the page. When you wake up that next morning, turn on your favorite music, get in the shower, have your little morning routine, and be like, it's gonna be a good day today. And just kind of, you gotta flip the switch.
No, man, that's quite interesting, man. I mean, because a lot of athletes go through that because, right? I feel like every athlete in some form or fashion is their tunnel vision, right? And even when
Mm.
things go bad, or even when things go good, they can win a championship, but they're always like, "What's next? What's next?" Sometimes you forget to, the little things like, "Oh, my mom's here. Oh, my da 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 da," and it happens to a lot of people, and I think that's fair. Like, realize what you have, what's good, what's bad.
The
Uh,
little things throughout your day, like I'll go to Starbucks. I love me some coffee. And the person, the little barista, will draw a little smiley face just randomly. And I'm just like,
yeah.
it is little things. Like, that is just so cute and so sweet. And you just kind of have to really take a step back and enjoy life. you know, it can be hard to just enjoy life as an athlete, because you're like, well, this is my life. And it's like, well, it is, but there's a lot more going on around you too. So
No, man, I think they'll appreciate that, the audience, when they see this, because it's just very relatable. It's because the normal person goes through this, not just an athlete,
yeah,
So it's I think it's very relatable. If not, knock on wood, because we just heard you talking about being scared of retirement a little bit. But however, you know how it goes. At some point, we all got to hang the cleats up. We all got it's just how it goes. Father time waits for no one. And
yeah.
and knock on wood, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna compete and do a bunch of things. But if Riley White's athletic career ends today, what do you want your legacy to be known
I
as?
want my to be known more as who I am as a person and how I impacted my teammates, rather than necessarily what I accomplished. And, like, at the end of the day, the medals, the trophies, the titles, you box them up. Like, all my medals from gymnastics, they are boxed up and in my closet. I don't, the things I took from gymnastics, like my time management, my work ethic, being a leader to lots of girls on the team, I carried that with me to the next sport and the next thing in my life. So for me, like, I want to be energetic. I want to be an energy giver at practice. I want people to be like, when she was at practice, like, it just brightened her day. And her work ethic, watching her work hard, made me want to work hard. Seeing her have success after working her tail off shows me that as long as I work hard, good things will come. I want those kinds of things to be remembered about me, not necessarily like, oh, she got eighth place, or of course I have those goals where it's like, I want to score points at SECs. That is my, before I graduate and I'm officially done, I want to score points at SECs. But at the end of the day, like, if I can impact people around me, they're going to remember that than what place I got at SECs.
No doubt, no doubt. I like that. I like that. It's bigger than a game. It's bigger than a
Hmm.
game. It's bigger than a sport. I like that. We just touched on a little bit of post career, post athletic career. How important is life after track or life after sports for you?
So important. Like, it's crazy to think, like, okay, I've been doing sport since I was 3, and now I just turned 22. But that is just such a small portion of my life as a whole. So it's kind of, you have to remember, like, yes, that these years are like some of the best years of my life. They're such a small portion of the rest of my life. And, well, for me, especially sport, has kind of set up the next steps for my life. And I'm very, very, very grateful for all of that. But I don't know. My true passion is to be able to work with people and help people and give back to people. So whether that looks like teaching. So I was a physical education major actually until this past year because I thought I was going to teach and be a PE teacher. And so I just love kids. I love teaching and I love health and fitness. So I graduated with kinesiology exercise science
Nice.
and
Nice.
and so and a minor in communications. So I love people and I love
Makes
health,
perfect sense.
fitness,
Yeah.
and teaching honestly was just one of those things. Like my summer job, I am a graduate assistant for this program called Swim to the Top. So I'll be helping teach swim lessons to
Nice.
it area in Tuscaloosa. And I've been doing that past 2 summers and I have loved it. But I want to be able to make myself some good money somehow, some way, whether that's with WWE, hopefully, or stuff that comes after that. And then I want to be able to like start my own program, like Swim to the Top. I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to just randomly help others financially, or I don't know, just with some organization. Like that's truly where my heart is. And if I was very fortunate one day after sport to be able to do that, like that would just give me so much
Yeah.
purpose, fulfillment. So that's kind of like sport. I love it. It's my everything. And thankfully, I think it's helping set up my future. But my future just looks like being around people and helping people. And that's why, honestly, like for me, social media and kind of my different outlets of me just being able to get on and like, hey, how's everyone doing? And then getting feedback from people. Like it sounds cheesy, but it like makes me feel good when people are like, oh my gosh, like your smile just made my day. And I'm like, oh, well, that just made my day. Like I'm glad we can and so if I can continue doing something like that and then, you know, seeing where it takes me, that's just kind of like my future after sports is very important. It's gonna look so different, but we all have to hit that next point in our life at some point.
Hey, it wouldn't be your first transition, right?
Right. Exactly.
All right. As of late, like you just mentioned, you said whether you hop on TikTok or the internet or whatever, and you get feedback. As of late, it's no secret you've become like an internet sensation, right? Like look, you become very
I don't know
popular.
that.
You become very popular online, right? With that being said, and whether it's because of awesome content or people just they just love you, and whatever the case is, whatever people are drawing from you, right? Has being popular or gaining more popularity opened up many doors. You just mentioned like WWE has a whole has opened up several doors and stuff for you going forward.
It really has. I mean, I can't even begin to explain. So when NIL first started, there were some people like, this is ridiculous. People are already making money through their sport and now they're getting paid, well, all that kind of stuff. For me, I'm a preferred walk-on. So my school is not paid for through sports. It's through academic money and not I don't even have a full ride. So I've had to pay for college and rooming and board and books and all of that. So for someone like me, getting paid because name, image, and likeness has been truly the biggest blessing. And like I've had deals with like Kendra Scott. I've gotten some boots from
Yeah.
being from Alabama. I love my cowboy boots. So getting some to Tacovas is super nice. I've had some like different meals companies and stuff like that, and like TikTok, and fortunately opened up doors with WWE and being their first group of NIL signees, which has been truly like wild. I never thought in a million years that's what would be honestly going on with me right now. I thought I was going to be a PE teacher, and here I am potentially wrestling in the WWE. So it has opened up so many opportunities, and I am so beyond grateful. I will have to say, in the beginning, there was a lot of anxiety that came with all of it, and all eyes are on you.
Oh,
People like to let you know how your competitions are going as if you don't know yourself how they're going. And I just have to remind people like, look, I'm on social media, I'm on TikTok, but I'm not out here trying to act like I'm Miss winning SECs. Like I'm very real. If I know Heidi to meet, I'll get on TikTok and be like, I know Heidi. Like I'm a preferred walk on. this is my story. This is where I am. Like, I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm very honest. I'm very much like, I want people to know the real me. But it's been tough because then you just feel like if you don't do well, all eyes are on you. And it's like,
Yeah.
have to remember why. What is your why for social media and like what got you going and, you know, all the cool things that have come with it, just to kind of take a step back. And you have to realize this like few hate comments. I'm like, it's literally just the small portion, but that's the only thing I listen to. Like, why? So there's been a lot of downs with it. But honestly, the opportunities that have come from it, like, I mean, even this interview right here, like, there's just so many things that come from it, and it's been really, really cool. Like, I honestly can't believe it. Like, I truly am blessed. Like, I hands down, it's been amazing, and I have the best marketing agents, Players Collective. They have become my best friends, and so the fact that they represent me, but then they're also like my closest people in my life. Like, it's been truly a blessing. And they're all about helping female athletes in sport. And, you know, let's get on that same playing field as all these guys that are signing all these deals for millions of dollars. Like, let's try to get just a little bit closer to all of that. So I love them and meeting them. I wouldn't have been able to meet them if it wasn't for social media. So it's just been great.
I, tons of great things as you just said. It's tons. One of the things you mentioned is the WWE signing. You made history. You are one of the. You are the first. You're the part of the first class of the NIL signees of the WWE. Alongside, I believe the Cavender twins were on there. They're also huge on TikTok, and so they're huge.
Mhm.
And I believe there was one or two more who have some type of popularity. However, how much did that mean to you? Like, to be side by
Well,
side with to all these WWE.
you know, when I first found out about it, I was like, well, this is sick. And then they told us it's just 15. And I'm like, well, 15 of us. Then I see Carpenter twins and I'm like, oh my gosh. And like these chicas are like way up there on the social media game right now. So to be up there with them was like, well, this is pretty dadgum cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is like someone pinched me. Like, this is not real. So no, it was awesome. It's been really cool.
Hey man, after it's all said and done, right? After it's all said and done, you know, if people, I'm just, after it's all said and done, can people expect to see you in something possibly sports related? We understand you have the kinesiology, sports exercise, degree and stuff like that. Is there any type of world where, like, when it's all said and done, maybe you end up in a sports related world as far as career wise?
Well, even when it comes to just personal training, like, I love working out and I love helping others. And if there's some way I can open up my own gym one day and even train athletes, be a trainer for athletes and help them get to that next level, high school to college, something like that, I could so see myself. I mean, we learned. I'm not gonna lie, in kinesiology, those classes, I'm nerding out here. They were so cool. I would go to track practice and be like, "Hey, coach, now we're using our glycolytic system." Like, yeah, you just start class because it applies what my body's going through right now as I'm working out.
Yeah,
So just all of that stuff, honestly, being a personal trainer and kind of learning how to actually train people.
yeah.
That's been I mean, I love sport and I don't see myself going away from it. Some one way or another, it'll be involved in my life.
No doubt, no doubt, man. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure your people in your corner are glad to hear you'll stay around sports no matter what.
Oh yeah.
But to conclude the interview, it's been an amazing time. The reality is, look, a lot of you have a big platform, tons of people are watching you, as you said. Is there any advice for anyone out there who may actually relate to your story, resonate, or just any young boys and girls out there who kind of see you and see themselves or want to follow in your footsteps? Is there any advice or anything you'd like to leave with them?
I would say, like, this is so cliche, but if you have a goal, write it down on a sticky note, put it on your mirror. I still have the picture of my high school sticky notes on my mirror, and I still do it to this day. I have a printed out sheet next to my mirror in Tuscaloosa. These are
Okay.
my academic goals, my social goals, and my athletic goals. And not only are these my goals, these are the steps to get to these goals because there's also going to be a process for those goals. And don't be afraid to like talk about it or share it with people that are close to you because sometimes fear like, oh, but like if I tell people my goal, they're gonna be like, no way. Like you gotta know what you want. You gotta go after it, and you gotta have people in your corner that are gonna support you through it and go after it. Like that's so cliche. Everyone says like follow your dreams. No, like seriously, like go all in. Don't be afraid to go on because if you go all in and maybe it doesn't work out, you at least know you did give it your all. Because the worst feeling ever is not reaching your goals. Like my sophomore year of college, things were not happening, but I also wasn't doing what I needed to do. So then you're not growing, you're not getting anything from it. So have your goals and go after it and realize like when one door closes, that is a okay because there is going to be another one that opens. And I never ever in a million years thought I would be taking my 5th year pole vaulting at the University of Alabama. If you had told me that years ago when I was in middle school doing gymnastics, I would have thought you were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You never know where life's going to take you. Be open minded, be excited, be enthusiastic about every opportunity because you truly do not know where it's going to take you. And just go all in, be excited, and enjoy the little things along the way because you can get caught up in all the wrong things or the big things, and you're going to miss a lot along the way. So that's honestly, I think, all I'd have to say.
Hey, listen, guys, it's a lot of information taken. That was great advice. I hope when you guys see this, I hope you guys definitely take it and run with it. Thank you again. We understand how busy you are here. She got game. I appreciate you for taking the time out with me, Riley. Thank you so much.